Jake, I'm curious. So, what's your thoughts on the tea service now that you've had some true Chinese tea service?
I think it's awesome. So I don't necessarily know the significance of all the pieces, like the little wooden piece.
Fish.
Yeah.
This guy, he's actually clay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The reason he looks the way he does, like wood, is because I've been pouring tea on him for years. Same with this guy, pouring tea on him. When we make tea this way, we pour out the first rinse of tea.
Okay.
Because it's weak, so it's just like opening it up, and it's like blooming coffee. I guess people have said that, but. And because we're already pouring it out, we pour it on these little dudes. They're called tea pets. There's a bunch of them on the shelf right behind you.
Oh, okay.
And when they're brand new, they don't look very special. They're just like a little thing. But when you start to pour tea on them, they change. They take on this stain and this color.
Okay.
And they get texture and three-dimensionality and character. You can see this guy, this fish. I've had him for years.
Yeah.
Years. He's all stained. When I got him, you couldn't see his scales. And then this guy is not as old. So, pouring tea on this guy, pouring tea on this guy.
Yeah, this is an interesting way of having a conversation and having an intermediary, and he sort of becomes a novice, but he's also in service, and the pairing, and it's like, I'm not sure what I'm in for here, and this is a little bit weird and uncomfortable, and what am I in for? So, but it's like as soon as we start the ceremony of the tea, it's like, oh, this is a welcoming place. This is a lot more comfortable than I expected. It's not that complicated. They're not asking anything of me except to enjoy myself while we're here.
Yeah, you don't have to know shit about tea to enjoy tea.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to know anything about whiskey to enjoy whiskey.
Hey, right? That's what I say. That's
Yep.
what I say.
I don't. I mean, if somebody says you have to, then they're full of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also it goes back to, an experiential thing,
Yeah.
where it's like, what are we experiencing and what are we sharing and what are we communing?
So I mean,
You
just
should
like
turn the camera on. Is it on? Okay, good man, good
Yeah.
man.
I mean, just
Yeah,
like
good man.
Just like you, like I do whiskey education. I get hired to do whiskey tastings and I do
Right.
things. And one of the things I always start with, I'm like, look, guys, if you don't get anything out of this, whether you liked that whiskey or you didn't like that whiskey, that's fine.
Yeah.
You do not need to walk away going, I smell 15 different things, because most of the time that's a bunch of crap anyways.
Right.
Like that took a lot of time and a lot of patience and really being picky and trying to do it. If you can pick out two things, you're doing pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, all it really matters, doesn't matter what you smell or what you taste. If you like it, you're gonna then that's what matters.
That's
Right.
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 That's
You can tell
right.
me it smells like dog do, but if you like
But
the way
if you
it
liked
tastes,
it,
then
yeah.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yep.
This is exactly, this guy knows exactly what I was talking about earlier today, and just exactly the same thing about you. And that's, you know what? That is that spirit of friendliness in Texas, I think especially, is that down to earth, and they have that in China. This is how these tea farmers in China are. They are down to earth. They don't care what you know. They're just there to enjoy your company, enjoy drinking tea with you.
So, I mean, this brings me into, and I say this a lot, and you're going to say this is the exact same way about tea, and I can, from talking to you for the little bit I have, I know that you truly believe this is, for me, whiskey's many things, and it's so much more than a drink.
Yeah.
It's many things to many people. It's a celebration. It's the drink of choice that people choose to toast life's milestones. It's magic. I mean, it was born from alchemy. I mean, and we know general processes. We can say, this is when we did our cut this time, this is when we did a cut, and then it goes into this barrel and it turns out amazing, or oh crap, we don't know what happened there. There's still an element of magic to it. It is, I mean, look, if it's whatever you want it to be, it's birdie juice. If you're a golfer, man, you get a birdie, like it's what you're having, it's what you have in your flask.
Right.
You know, it's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's just many things to many people, and it's a community builder. It brings people together, and based on our conversations here, I can absolutely see how you have your bar set up here for tea service. It's exactly what it's meant to do, and so I think what y'all are doing here with the combining of the tea and whiskey is absolutely brilliant, because for me it fits into exactly what whiskey should be.
Absolutely.
And it's not just something to go, well, I had a shot of whiskey. No, no, guys, no. Like, did you enjoy it? Did you talk to somebody? Did it open a door and did you create a new friend? And that's what it should be about.
Absolutely. Amen. That's you're right. That's why we do it. That's why we come back and do this, and why it's so exciting years in. How long have you been interested in whiskey?
my journey started in 2014.
All right. Yeah.
And before
10
that,
years. That's a
well,
decade.
before
now.
that, I couldn't stand the smell of it.
Really?
Like it better had a lot of Coke in it if I was going to drink it.
What was your aha moment where it became a whiskey lover?
Funny enough, it was TX, Firestone Robertson blended whiskey, and I just by happenstance, like somebody handed me a glass. It was on the rocks, and it was in like one of those old like coffee styrofoam glasses too. It wasn't even like it wasn't even like it wasn't even like I wasn't And I was just like, you want me to drink that? Okay, sure, I'll drink this. I drank it and I was like, oh wow, okay. And so I bought a bottle and I started with just glass full of ice, poured some in there, and I slowly started adding less and less ice to where I was adding no ice. And then it broke my heart to find out that it was not made in Texas and that it had neutral grain spirit in it.
Whoa. The name of the whiskey is TX?
TX Blend.
TX Blend. So there's
TX
two things.
Blend.
So Firestone and Robertson out of Fort Worth,
Okay.
they got their start with their TX Blend, which if you're looking at the bottle has the white wrapper on the top, around the neck of the bottle.
Okay.
And it is Kentucky bourbon blended with, actually, funny enough, neutral grain spirit from Texas.
Okay.
So that is just blended there in Fort Worth and bottled.
God.
They do have a bourbon that they make grain to glass there in Fort Worth, and it has the black wrapper on it and it says TX Bourbon on
Okay.
it. That is actually made in Texas. But that was not out yet whenever that wasn't out yet. And so I was like, it really broke my heart because I thought I was sitting here drinking Texas whiskey. And honestly, I look back on it and I think that might have been what launched my journey into Texas whiskey and what is Texas and launching the festival and just going down this rabbit hole of what it is, the Teos collaborations, the blends, the Texas Whiskey Trail, which I am the director of for the Texas Whiskey Association. It launched me down this rabbit hole, and I swear it was because I was heartbroken that it wasn't made in Texas.
You had a paste pecani sauce moment.
Right? New York City!
Hey, cheers, bro. Cheers.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, TX actually, the distiller wrote a book called Terroir. About
Rob Arnold did, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's phenomenal.
So there are things, and when you're starting a business, what's the most popular whiskey in Texas right now? Crown Royal.
Wow.
What is the most popular whiskey in the United States? Crown Royal.
Wait, really?
Crown Royal
Is it still the number one in the United
it could
States?
be. It could,
You know what I mean?
I knew it was
it could be
Texas.
Jack Daniels, but it is a blended whiskey and it is extremely popular. So when you're starting a distillery and you want to be successful, who are you going to emulate?
Canadians.
Exactly, because you want if you
Not
want
in
to.
Texas.
But the thing is
They're doing things different.
I was very proud of the fact that when I read the book Terroir, my mind was changed on TX whiskey, that they were working with local farmers. They were trying to find local grain.
Absolutely.
They were working with the agricultural college and trying to find the different flavor components. What are the different flavor components? This is instead of grain to glass, it's farm to glass. And this is something that is a movement going around the world right now. What do each farmer contribute? What does each grain varietal contribute? And finding out that TX was part of that.
Look, and I love Rob Arnold, but you also need to have a pretty significant understanding of chemistry to get through the book. I read the book, and I've read it went back and reread sections just to get the chemistry part right. I mean, it's pretty intense, but he does make a great point in talking about the terroir, just like with wine and things like that. The grapes come from a certain area. Doesn't matter where the grains come from, and absolutely we're discovering that it does. But there's so many other factors that go into it, right?
As a Texan, though, this is the thing. Not being from Texas, you might not share the very protective attitude towards the brand that we Texans may have. But they're a Texas company. It just wasn't Texas whiskey.
Right. Well, no,
But the
they
grain
are.
spirits. Well, okay, but the whiskey was not distilled in Texas. It was right.
It was Kentucky and then just blended here.
With
Like I said, their
neutral
bourbon
grain spirits.
is though. Now that did launch. So I think that is what launched me on my Texas path.
Yeah.
Now, funny enough though, I actually jumped to Scotch before I got into and then I jumped back
good
to
place to
bourbon.
jump.
And I've been.
a good place.
See, I'm full solid team bourbon. Don't get me wrong, I love Scotch. I love Scotch. I like Irish whiskey. I like all whiskey. I just like some better than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Team American single malt.
Well, there you go. Like, look, and I like me some single malts, but you know, and it's interesting that I had a few Kentucky bourbons, but I didn't really like start to love bourbon until it was Texas bourbon.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because that's where my journey landed, because I was starting to seek out stuff, was it made in Texas? And so that's what I was buying for the few bottles that I have. And so I guess, so I really jumped straight into Texas bourbon before I even did really start exploring Kentucky.
Right.
Like I said, I had a couple, like some Elijah Craig. I had a couple at the house.
So in the comments, make sure you give Jake all of the hate because Kentucky and Texas, there are people out there that are just haters on what happens.
Me.
Yeah.
Look, send it to me. I think Texas is making some of the best whiskey in the world, and I stand by it.
There you go. And I
You're not
agree.
the only one who thinks that, though, because Texas whiskeys are winning awards.
Oh, absolutely we are. And look, I think there's a place for every whiskey in this world. Like I said, I do love me some Scotch, and I love some Irish, but you know, I love what Texas is doing. And I think in the short amount of time, the 15 years that the industry's truly been around, we've made leaps and bounds in the quality and what they're experimenting with. And they truly are experimenting.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to go, sure, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
We don't have
rugged individualism.
We don't have a preset notion of this is what our bourbon should taste like. This is what our single malt should taste like. We're still figuring that out. So you want to try something? Let's do it.
Yeah. And and what you're doing specifically with the Texas Whiskey Festival, which I'm realizing it's not just a festival, it's also this brand that is producing or collaborating to produce all these different whiskeys, you know, very unusual things that are blending and or just representing Texas with what you're talking about, this creative, experimental kind of attitude and the collaborative. Again, I think that we're very emblematic of Texas culture is that I'm not threatened by you doing your thing.
Right.
I just want to do my thing, and I appreciate you doing your thing. And if we're like both into whiskey, then we're homies, and we can collaborate. We can put our whiskeys in the same barrel, same bottle.
And it also allows us to amplify and share what Texas whiskey is with more people.
Yeah.
Because if we're working on it together, and I'm a firm believer in rising tides raise all ships.
100%.
It's one of the reasons I started the festival is that, look, if we can all come together and promote the industry. So at the festival, you won't find anything outside of Texas.
Cool.
Like, there's not Scotch, there's not Kentucky bourbon there. They have to be a Texas-based brand, and at least part of the process has to happen in Texas. They're not all grain to glass, but they have to be transparent about their product.
Yeah.
You know, and where they get it from.
Yeah.
And so we are truly going, okay, look, guys, we're going to come together and we're going to talk about this industry as a whole and promote each other, you know, and so, just so we can say, okay, look, if we have more people buying Texas and less people buying Kentucky, great, we're winning.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, what we're looking for. I'm not saying don't buy you some Jack Daniels, because, you know, whatever, go buy you some Jack Daniels. But,
yeah, let's
try another whiskey.
So,
Jack Daniels.
So, Richard, you talked earlier about how Texas is working with local farmers and things like that. And off camera, we talked about something with the tea, I feel that this whiskey really goes into it. So, this is from Wilson Valley Mercantile, just north of Austin, but south of Salado, between Austin and Salado. He is a farmer, grows all of the grains. So this is what he calls seed to sip. Every part of the process happened on his farm. Now this bourbon is only a year old, so just, you know, and he's using small barrels. But what I like, the fun thing about this is it's, bless you, by the way, it's 51% corn, 34% wheat, and 15% oats.
Oats.
So
Yeah.
I haven't even heard people talking about oats yet. Have we had any oat-based whiskey on this show?
Yeah.
Talked about it, yeah. But again, and not only is he growing all of the grains, he also raises cattle, beef, and has them sold. So last time I was there, I bought bourbon and a box of beef. So I got hamburger meat, steaks, ribeyes. I got.
What do you eat? What else do you
bourbon and
need?
beef. Bourbon and beef. I mean,
The two B's.
So saying wheat and saying oats, I have certain expectations in my mind from previous things that I've tried. Usually when there's wheat in a whiskey, I'm looking for a sweeter cherry or candied cherry type of note. When it says oats, I'm looking for a softness.
Give that one to you.
Thank you.
From the oats. But that's just my perception going in, and those preconceptions can also break your brain because because you're going in with assumptions.
Right.
So having somebody tell you these things in advance can change the way you're going to perceive the whiskey.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. When we do tastings blind all the time so that people don't know what the brand is. And I do it with bourbons a lot. I'm like, okay, and I start with the beginning. What's your favorite bourbons? I get this. I love Woodford. I love this. What's your least favorite? I hate Wild Turkey. Okay, whatever. We go through this. At the end of the tasting, I'm like, okay, well, which one was your favorite? I like number 3. It's like, great, you like Wild Turkey. And they're like, no, I don't. I was like, yeah, you do.
Boom.
The brand,
Boom.
the brand influences so much of your flavor. Like you said, preconceived notion. You just hear it. And, Wild Turkey's kind of like the Jose Cuervo of whiskey. They had a bad experience in college, and nobody wants to drink it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. This is the wife in the duo that makes that first tea that we had, the smoke bomb, the little ball. She'll do that. She'll make us a tea, and we'll be like, what is this? She'll be like, Rang Cha Shuo Hua, which means let the tea speak. She won't tell us. She's just like, just drink it. What is it? It's this in your cup right here. You want to know what it is? Drink it, then you'll know what it is. I love that this guy grows his grain, because that's in China. One day we'll talk about Baijiu on this show. Today's not the day we're going to talk about it at length, but Baijiu, Chinese liquor, very, very, you drink it cast strength most of the time. The best Baijiu you get from a farmer who is distilling just like with their own jury-rigged ratchet setup.
Right. Is it similar to soju?
Nope, it sure ain't. It's like, it's much stronger.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
just
it's much stronger.
me not knowing what it is. I just wanted to ask.
My friend, one day, I've got a bottle. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't tried it yet. But
Now I've had a few sorghum whiskeys, and most of my experience with sorghum whiskeys have not been pleasant. They've been rough.
they're not all. See, Baijiu
Yeah.
doesn't have to be sorghum, but it often does have sorghum. The ones that you get here probably will have sorghum. The really distinctive, like stereotypical Baijiu have sorghum. It could be anything at all. It could be rice. It could be potatoes. It could be corn.
And that's usually a regional distinction depending on the region and what they have a
Oh,
surplus
yeah,
of.
it depends on what you're growing. The dude's
Right.
growing. This is like buttery vanilla frosting with this on the nose. This is what I get. It's like so beautiful. It's so sweet and beautiful.
I will
It is
tell you,
very
I
sweet.
do like it with the white tea as well.
It tastes like ooh, yeah.
And now you were telling us something about the white tea as well, which is what I wanted to talk about this with.
Good. So vanilla-y. That's one of the most vanilla-y whiskeys I've ever had. Do you think that's the wheat or the oats or something?
Yeah, I think the candy note or that sweetness
Or the
is
wood?
coming from the corn and the wheat. The oats.
I think the oats provide the creaminess.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really nice. It's very
Like I said,
nice. It's very
he's using
elegant.
small barrels, and so this is a year old. He's got a lot of promise with what he's doing.
Yeah.
And super nice guy as well. They are part of the Texas Whiskey Trail. And he will be at the festival this year for the first time.
Perfect.
And so if you're there, you'll get to talk to John and try it. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not selling his beef while he's there, so you'll have to go to the distillery to do that. But
If he brings some, though,
You'll
I'll
buy
get
some?
some.
All right,
I would
well, I'll
buy
talk
some.
to him.
I'd buy from this guy if his beef's anywhere as good as his
Oh, it
whiskey.
is. Oh, it
That'd
is.
be
Like
some
it's
fine beef.
It's really good beef. We've cooked up some of the steaks, and man, they're just tender and solid.
I freaking love this. How common is this for someone to grow the grain and distill the whiskey?
There's only a handful that I'm aware of. Well, one is Whiskey Acres out of Illinois. Then there's the Waterford out of Ireland is doing it, and then out of the U.S.
Then
is there-
Renegade Rum is part of the Waterford group, and they're over in.
But isn't there another distillery in the U.S. that is doing it as well?
This guy grew all these grains.
Frey Ranch.
Yes, Frey Ranch. There probably is a couple. There's probably a few others, but it's not widely practiced.
This is a whole paradigm shift for me because like we were talking about off camera, that's what we do. Is we do farm direct tea. That is absolutely our specialty. Both of the teas that we've had today are farm direct teas. They're from a single farmer. The first one is by Li Shu Lin. This one's by Li Yan Mei. No relation. Same last name, no relation, opposite sides of China. But yeah, Li Yan Mei, she's we've been getting white tea from her the whole time, and she specializes in the aged white teas. And having that single farm character and having that identity behind it, the connection between the person and the plant brings something really special to the finished product.
Would agree.
Yeah, and in that sense, there's this unbroken, and it's like he made it, you sourced it, right, to bring it here. You sourced it for us here today, and so you know this guy, is that right?
Yeah.
You know him in person. I know her in person. I know Li Shuin in person. There's something special there. There's like a special, because that's how everything used to be. Everything used to be the way. If you're consuming something, you know the person who knows the person who knows the person who made it personally. And now it's not that way. You order something off Amazon, and it's a completely invisible supply chain. But we drinking this whiskey and drinking this tea, we are directly connected in an unbroken chain to the earth, to Wilson, to what is this, Bell County?
He's in Bell County, but
County?
the Wilsey Valley Mercantile is the distillery.
The land that those grains grew in, we're connected straight to that. The land this tea grew in Fuding, we're connected straight to that, to those plants that are growing there. It's really special.
Hey,
Now, I noticed something
whiskey's
else.
many things, and it's much more than a drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did notice something else on that bottle at the very top. It has a sticker that signifies certified Texas whiskey. Do you want to give us a little bit of information on how you become a certified Texas whiskey?
Yeah, so one of the great things the association did back whenever they launched in fall of 2018 was they established the Certified Texas Whiskey Program. And what that means is that the entire product was made grain to glass within the state of Texas. So the grains don't have to be grown in Texas,
Right.
but every other part of the process has to happen in the state.
And you can partner with a brewery and a distillery, so that you can actually do a collaboration with a brewery and a distillery. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in one spot, but it can be a brewery and a distillery, or a winery and a distillery. Well, not winery, because it wouldn't be whiskey, but
so the Texas Whiskey Association board will verify that you're doing all of the process grain to glass, and then you can apply for either be a part of the association, or if you don't want to do that, you can apply to license and utilize the sticker. That's up to the board's discretion, but it's all ran through the Texas Whiskey Association. You can look at their website or Google Texas Whiskey Association and find all the information you need there.
And I love the fact that there's open disclosure. So you're allowed to do the sourcing that we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
Our friends at Treaty Oak actually have a whiskey called Red Handed, which means you caught us red-handed. Yes, we brought this in from somewhere else, but we are also making our own product with the Ghost Hill and all of these other products that they have on their docket. So this has been a boon, because it's been a collaboration. Absolutely. And it's been a way for everybody to come together and say, this is what we think Texas whiskey is, and what is Texas whiskey? It's made in Texas.
Right, and that's the simplest definition, is it's made in Texas. We're not trying to define this is what it tastes like or this is what it should be. Is it made in Texas? Great, it's Texas whiskey.
Yeah, but I think that the gestalt of Texas already has such a strong association with whiskey, because it's what you think about cowboys drinking. You know what I mean? And as you said, the Texas industry, the Texas whiskey industry is essentially new, but the whiskey has been so much a part of kind of Texas lore and Texas culture anyways. And I think that it's a really beautiful way to distill the culture of Texas, which is this very distinctive thing. It's like, I'm from Texas. I grew up in Houston. And there's a special quality of that Texas identity that I don't know if people, from different states all feel the way about Texas that Texans do, but there is a very strong feeling of being a Texan and what that means. And there's no real way, it's not written down somewhere. It's really, you capture it in things like Texas whiskey. This is beautiful. It was grown in Texas. This guy's a farmer, and he made and distilled this, and it's really lovely. It's really one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. So, yeah.
No, it's like I said, for being new and just this is his first bourbon that he's released, I'm really looking forward to how he grows as a distiller and how his product grows and changes over time. But yeah, super nice guy too.
Can we get this guy on the show sometime?
Well, we'll see. We'll talk to
I bet
Jake.
John would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think I'm like moved by it. It's very beautiful. It's very moving. I can tell that this person loves what he does and loves his plants.
Oh yeah, he does.
So for those of you who don't know, we're right here in Texas. We're on the I-35. We're inside West China Tea. We're bringing in interesting peoples to talk about whiskey, talk about tea, how these things merge together, and we want you to join us. And where do we find you, Jake?
TXWhiskeyFest.com, TX Whiskey Fest on all the socials, and tickets are on sale. Come join us April 20th.
That's 420, right?
That's there you
420.
go.
Yeah, that's easy to remember.
It was not, see, but if I say 420, then there's an assumption, and it was coincidental that it was happened to be that date.
You don't want to do that at the whiskey festival. It's not going to be good.
No, it would
it's
not
gonna
work
be
out
good.
well
You're going
for
to get the
you.
spins. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend that.
Yeah.
But 420, Star Hill Ranch, TXWhiskeyFest.com, get all the information. We'll have a ton of whiskey, food trucks, cigars, live music, and a lot of good people to talk to.
And we'll see you there.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you so much,
Thank y'all
Jake,
for having me.
sharing your passion. This
Absolutely.
it's really beautiful, and I really appreciate what you're doing for Texas culture and for Texas whiskey.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and us. We're here as always in Austin, beautiful Austin, the capital of Texas. At 4706, I don't remember my own address. Had a lot of whiskey. 4706 I-35, right off of I-35 in Austin, and also you can order tea from us. Our farm direct tea. You can get this sugar plum. Should make a coupon code for the show.
You probably should. Yeah, man.
No, they can't have that one. I'm going to buy that one. If you have another one, they can have that one.
There's multiple, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I will make a coupon code for the show though. I get people watching. But yeah, this is Sugar Plum. You could go buy this on the website. You can buy any of the teas that we've had today on the website, and you can also find us at West China Tea on Instagram, West China Tea on TikTok, Tea House Ghost on YouTube, filming season 3 right now of Tea House Ghost. Corey was helping us do that earlier today. And of course, here in the Tea House, Whiskey Provisioner. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Hugs and kisses, guys.
One other piece of business.
Oh, God.
Oh,
On camera?
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
you really want to do this here? No, I was
So
kidding.
yeah, actually, we've got a really cool guest next week. We're going to be taking a break from whiskey. Andrew Heaton from the Political Orphanage is going to be here, and we're going to be talking to him about the disclosure. We're actually moving here from West China Tea to a new location, and eminent domain is going to be one of the topics of conversation. So join us here at West China Tea, talking to Andrew Heaton next week.
It's going to be political. Buckle up.